Are you looking for accommodation?
No, I have a place. Larkrise Cottage, Mr. Spaulding's property.
Mr. Spaulding. Yes, that was very tragic, wasn't it? You're not a relative, are you?
I'm his brother, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was sudden, wasn't it? Well, I'm glad to meet you, Mr. Spaulding. Tom Bailey is my name, if I can be of any assistance to you.
Thank you. Yes. Could you tell me where the cottage is?
Yes, but first, have a drink on the house, will you? It's your first time here.
No, my wife is waiting outside.
You're not thinking of living there permanently, are you?
Well, yes, of course. Anything wrong with it?
No. But if you take my advice, you'll sell it. You won't get much for it, but sell it and get out.
Why? My brother lived there.
He also died there, Mr. Spaulding.
This is the emergency podcast system. This is not a test. Movies are bombing all over the country. They are posing as movies you already know. They may already be in your theaters, your neighbor's home, or even your own. Do not panic. Specialists have been dispatched. They will help you identify these pretenders and defend you against this invasion of the remake. Please stand by for further instructions. Welcome to the Invasion of the Remake podcast. I am your host, Jason Bishop, and with me in the room, as always, is Sam Stepanenko.
If anything was going to get over my fear of snakes, this movie did it.
Oh, that's good. And coming in via the interwebs, Trish Conklin.
I like snakes.
Well, we had to do arachnophobia a while back, so
Yeah.
it was Sam's turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not afraid of snakes. They still make my skin crawl a little bit, but I'm not afraid of them.
They're much easier to deal with when they're on the screen on the other side of a television.
Well, yeah. This movie definitely did not make my skin crawl. Let's put it that way.
Maybe I should have had my friend Izzy bring over her boa constrictor.
That would have been fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm seriously, like, when I was living in Florida, I actually conditioned myself. I actually, made a point of touching snakes because I don't like being afraid of things, so I made myself not afraid anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I did with sharks.
There we go. Cool.
It was an irrational fear. Well, actually semi-rational because they can be dangerous, but...
Yeah. Yeah, you got to have the ones that aren't venomous.
Yeah.
Then they're just wonderful.
Yeah. Hey, I was afraid of being alone, and then I lived of my own for 10 years.
There you go.
There you are.
Now I have a roommate, and I want it back.
Funny how that works.
You can't go back. It's a threshold. Once you get past that, it's hard.
Yeah. All right. This week we're going to be doing a fan challenge from our friend Woj, who had submitted one a while back that just turned out to be too good. It didn't fit our criteria, and we wound up kind of doing a review of it instead on 31 Days of Horror episodes. So this time we're going to take up the challenge full throttle, and we're going to be talking about The Reptile from 1966 from Hammer Films. This is their first Hammer film, I think.
It might be. I think it might be.
Oh, no. I do believe the Let Me In, the remake of Let the Right One In, was from the Hammer Revival company.
Wasn't X also a Hammer film?
No.
No? I was pretty sure I think there might be one other one in there, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
Fuck, I can't remember my own name half the time.
I mean, at some point we might do the Woman in Black, which I think's a remake, and that is definitely a Hammer film, old and new. Both versions of Hammer. Hammer hasn't gone back to the well on a lot of their old stuff yet. I'm not sure what their status is these days as a film company since they disappeared for quite a while. But they've got a lot of stuff in there from their original run that is probably primed for a remake. Not sure this is one of them, but we'll definitely give you some ideas of where to approach this and how to approach this and how to recast it. Maybe, I don't know. We'll find out. See what you think, Woj. I think I have another one in my email that he sent me a link to as well, but this one seemed interesting. Good old-fashioned monster movie, or is it?
Or is it?
I'm not sure what they were going for with this one, to be honest.
A were snake?
Well, yeah, there's that, but I mean, it took a long time to get there, and I kind of enjoyed that. because there was a mystery there. It was kind of like when we did Millennium. It wasn't what I was expecting. So I kind of didn't mind. I mean, yeah, the pacing's very 60s and kind of slow, and I complain about pacing all the time. But for this movie, it worked surprisingly well for me.
Was it a mystery, really? I mean...
Well, kind of. I did say kind of.
Yeah, it's not like I didn't see anything not coming. I mean, I think the presentation was a bit of a surprise for what I was getting. It felt more like a haunted house thing.
Yeah.
I mean, who's the reptile? Yeah, we knew that right away. I did.
Yeah. Well, yes, but in the sense of, from the standpoint of the characters, they were solving a mystery, right? The mystery of these deaths, right?
Yeah, I'll give you that for sure from the character standpoint. But there's a lot left on the table. I'm still not sure what Dr. Franklin did other than uncover some secrets, I guess. I mean, it didn't seem extreme enough. And then what did Martin Maitland, the Malay, have on Dr. Franklin other than, controlling his daughter? What was the end game here? What was he trying to get? And I think these are things that we can pull on.
For sure. It did feel like an incomplete film.
Yeah, no, it felt like half an idea. Maybe that's because the thing was, it felt rushed. Like, it felt like, hey, we're shooting this other movie here, which was the case. They were simultaneously filming on this set, The Plague of the Zombies from 1966 on the same set. So I think this was just a case of using those Bray Studios backlot sets of this village to shoot something else and pump something else out. I mean, it's a very Roger Corman idea, keeping your locations fairly minimal. You got your castle, you got your pub, and you got the house for the most part. Yeah, and a couple other weird little sets.
Yeah, and that's probably exactly it. And I mean, it does feel like that as well. Right? It definitely has that Corman-esque feel. I will say that it was a joy to see the snake creature, because I've seen GIFs and memes of that all over the place, but never had a frame of reference. Now I do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever seen this before, or any images from it before. I could tell the poor actress, Jacqueline Pierce, couldn't see a goddamn thing out of that makeup.
Oh, no.
And she's claustrophobic on top of it all.
Oh, yeah. Claustrophobic, and yeah, she did not enjoy any of that. She was actually once told, "You've got a face for film, so let's cover that up."
Yeah. Well, she wrote it into her contract that she would not do prosthetic makeup ever again.
Yeah, and I don't blame her. If you're claustrophobic, that had to be excruciating for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it did look cool in its own weird way.
It did. Like the bug-eyed look to it. I mean, I guess she was supposed to be like a she-snake thing. Yeah, it kind of looked cool. I mean, the special effects makeup artist used real snakeskin to mold his patterns.
Oh.
Very cool. They were unique looking, and I kind of like that.
Yeah, I could tell she's like trying to slowly go like Universal Monster style. Every monster moves at like a snail's pace and doing that grab with the claws out and everything. And I think that's just a case of making sure she doesn't fall or bash into a wall. There were times where it did look like she was just kind of feeling her way around.
Yeah. And that would be one thing I would like to see from a snake creature is like really fast movement.
Yes, and that smoothness, the way a snake moves. Yeah. There's a little bit when she was molting there and had shed her skin and she was kind of under that blanket and there was that undulating movement underneath it, which was very snake-like.
Yes,
I did appreciate that. And that's something I'd like to see more in that creature.
I was thinking, I want her to be older than you think. Because honestly, shedding your skin, that's got to be like the greatest peel. Like you'll always look younger.
Well, I mean, you are kind of blocked in because you have a parent of a certain age. So you can be a little ambiguous. She could look 20. Maybe she's 30 if her father's 50-ish or 60. I mean, you're kind of locked in by having a father figure.
Well, I made him older, so she could be.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. This is one of those movies where I feel like there's certain themes we could work with, but it's more of a page one rewrite, like The Thing was. It's like, has a similar setting, at least The Thing, and the paranoia is still there. And there's like the things we need to target in this movie that I think are important is the paranoia of the village. I do want to change the setting of it. We'll get to some of that a little bit later. And there's something I really liked about it that could play well now is the village was using the Black Plague as an excuse for these deaths.
Yeah, there's like this tacit approval, and they cover it up through.
Yeah. So there's this cover up, and they're blaming it on the Black Plague, and there's that double edge of paranoia. Oh, the plague's in our town, when it's actually this creature poisoning people, and they just don't have the expertise to figure it out.
Yeah, and you also have the cover up with heart disease. Everybody dies of heart disease. Mm-hmm. It's a terribly unhealthy town.
Yeah. So there's lots of little things to play on. Like I said, I wanted to change the setting, but we'll get to a little bit later, where this one is more of this original film. The 66 is definitely that Hammer, slow-paced, gothic tone. I'm not going to make a lot of friends with this statement. I didn't care for this film that much, and I don't care for most Hammer films because of this pacing that they do. I usually find Hammer movies very boring.
I have a fondness for them. To me, it's like kind of the camp factor, the setting, like how they do set design in a lot of these, I kind of really like.
I like the sets. Their little house, and then the big mansion that Dr. Franklin has, the graveyard. I mean, the sets were cool.
I love the gothic feel of a Hammer film.
Yeah. No, there's something unique about the look of a Hammer film.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like I said, sort of just a few minutes ago, I mean, I'm typically the one who comments on pacing because I find it can really make or break a film for me. Mm-hmm. This is one of those rare cases where I felt the slow pacing worked for the film. I mean, it wasn't my favorite film by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I was tuning out a lot, to be honest, on this one.
There's a lot of...
was so disinterested.
There's a lot of talky without a lot of meaning.
Yes. Oh, especially at the end, where we finally figure out like what happened with Dr. Franklin and his daughter and why she is the way she is. It's a lot of what pisses me off about stuff like this. That comes down to maybe budgetary constraints, but I always say show, don't tell.
In film, that's the way it should be.
There's so much tell at the end. It's like, oh my God, I would have loved to have seen all of this stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, like they did in The Lady in the Car with the Glasses and a Gun.
Yeah.
Yes, he was talking about it, but you're also seeing it.
Yeah.
Well, again, like you say, the mystery of why he was targeted, was it just about the secrets or was it something else?
Well, that's the thing. They don't tell you if there is anything else.
No.
We don't know. We'll never know.
But it should be part of that.
But yeah, I mean, in that explanation, they do say that cult or whatever is very secretive, and he was kind of putting those secrets out there, and this was a punishment of some sort. Mm-hmm. You've allowed this guy in your house, and he's taunting you and controlling his daughter, but still being your butler. Don't get it.
Right?
Well, no. I mean, they picked a creepy, stalkery dude.
They really did. And, I mean, they are a secret society, so he was keeping his own secret. And the fact he doesn't speak just adds to that. Right? He's supposed to be this mysterious
Yeah, it
foreigner.
takes him for a while. Like, it's almost 40 minutes in before we hear him talk. Mm-hmm. I was wondering if this was like an old Indiana Jones film where, you have a bad guy that doesn't talk. Or a Bond film, You always have that thug that never talks.
Yes. Yeah, and that's kind of what I thought he was for the most part until he did say something.
Yeah, you start realizing that Dr. Franklin might not actually be the bad guy.
And that was a nice misdirect for a little while, but because the Malay was so sinister in his behavior, you kind of knew that he was the bad guy.
Well, and that's where this film, I don't know how successful it was, to be honest. But, I mean, Hammer did pretty good with everything they made out in Europe. But I feel like this movie was old by 1966 standards because it listens like a Universal Monsters movie. It has that big band kind of sound. You have pointless scenes that sound like something epic is going on because of that music, which makes me wonder if maybe the music was
borrowed from somewhere else
and mismatched.
Yeah, I'm almost certain of it.
Yeah.
Right? This film was a crime of opportunity.
Yeah, I think maybe. Probably the snake makeup took the longest.
Oh, probably, yeah, and it probably cost the most too.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, this is a cast full of bit players.
Yeah, I don't know what the cost of individual things was. The cost of the film in 1966 was a little over £100,000. So, I don't know. Dollar disparity and all that. I mean, what, $10 million? I don't know. The pound was worth a lot more than the American dollar in 1966.
Yes, it was, yeah.
Oh.
But I would say that's about a $500,000 film.
Yeah, so not freaking much.
No.
And most of that was probably equipment and cast salaries.
Yeah. I mean, Hammer, they weren't a major studio in that regard. They were producing what I consider like drive-in movies or double feature movies.
Yeah. Oh, they filmed them as double features for crying out loud.
But clearly, yeah. You know, if you're making a double feature, you don't have to make the movies at the same time.
Well, they just want to make sure they fit.
No kidding.
But they can, and they did.
They can, and they did. All right, well, let's take a quick break. We're going to run the trailer for The Reptile from 1966 and start breaking it down for you.
In this remote little country village, the mortal remains of a man are laid to rest.
Who is it this time, Peter?
It's Mr. Spaulding. They found him this morning. Just like the others.
Just like the others, he died in the night. Get away from there! Get away! Suddenly, violently, horribly.
This is an evil place. Corrupt and evil.
Evil, as venomous as a snake, turns the quiet of this village into a writhing hell on earth, where every man fears for his safety and his sanity, where everyone is suspect.
What do you mean they died by some sort of magic, some witchcraft? For the first time in my life, I'm frightened.
Everyone is frightened. The doctor who'd lived his life in the East. This man who could be the next victim. This woman and this girl are frightened, hypnotized by the crawling, creeping spell of the reptile.
Stop! Pack your things, we're leaving.
No, Dr. Franklin. You are not leaving.
I could kill you.
Possibly. But you could never be free then, could you? And what would happen to little Anna then?
Trapped like animals in a cage and getting closer and closer, suffocating them with terror. The reptile.
And that was a trailer for The Reptile from 1966 with the screenplay by Anthony Hines, who wrote quite a few things for Hammer, including Brides of Dracula, The Evil of Frankenstein, and Scars of Dracula. Ooh. Just to name a few, and there are more than a few.
I was wondering, did he do any non-Dracula other than this?
Yes.
There's probably a Frankenstein.
There's another Frankenstein.
Yeah, and there might be a werewolf one in there, possibly.
Possibly a mummy.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe something with Dracula's daughters, or I don't know.
Well, Hammer did the Dark Universe before anybody else did.
They did it way bigger than Universal ever did.
Oh, yeah.
Although, you cast Christopher Lee in everything.
Yeah, Christopher Lee and, oh God, who was the other guy? His buddy.
Yeah. Guy in Star Wars.
Alec Guinness?
No, the other one. Bad guy.
Peter Cushing.
General Peter Cushing, thank you.
Hey, I remembered a name.
Yeah, from Star Wars. You're like the least likely to get that.
Right? I feel slightly ashamed.
Actually, his wife's big into Star Wars,
yes.
So he's probably learned up quite a bit since he got married. This is directed by John Gilling, who directed The Gorgon, Trog, which I think I might have even run a trailer for in Cult Movie Trailer Go-Go, Flesh and the Fiends, and The Mummy's Shroud, just to name a few. Ooh. All great titles. Mm-hmm. This stars Noel Willman, and he plays Dr. Franklin. He was in The Man Who Knew Too Much and Dr. Zhivago.
Yeah, so he had a decent career.
Yeah, good pedigree. Jennifer Daniel was Valerie Spaulding, and she was in Kiss of the Vampire. Ray Barrett was Harry George Spaulding. That would have been the husband. And he was in Australia and The Thunderbirds. Yeah, he played a puppet.
He played a puppet. Or was it the live action film that they made?
No, this 60s. This would have been the 60s. So those
it would have been
puppet.
the puppets.
It would have been the puppets.
Yeah, it would have been puppets, yeah.
Yeah. Jacqueline Pierce was Anna Franklin. We've talked about her a little bit. This would have been the daughter of Dr. Franklin. She was in Genghis Khan and the sci-fi classic series Blake 7, a classic to the people in the UK and anybody who watched PBS.
Yep.
Michael Ripper, that is a cool fucking name.
Right?
Michael Ripper was Tom Bailey. He was the bartender in this. And he was in Quartermass in the Pit, which was a pretty big thing in the UK. I kind of want to watch those Quartermass movies and TV shows. I'll find those. John Laurie was Mad Peter, and he was in Prisoners of Zenda.
Okay, I'm going to say it now before I forget. Did you not notice that Tom Bailey and Mad Peter shared a beard?
You think the props department just took his beard and put it on him?
Well, because Tom Bailey had the chin beard, like just like almost like a goatee, and then Mad Peter had the big side chops, so they looked like when they stood together, it looked like they split the beard in half. One had one on the chin, and one had on the had the sides.
I'm guessing they were probably natural, but that would have been amazing if that's what they did.
That would have been really fun.
That's a budget. That's masterminding your budget.
Yeah, but yeah, right. I noticed it right away. I'm like, they're sharing a beard.
Martin Maitland is the Malay, and he was in The Man with the Golden Gun.
He had quite a career, actually.
Yeah. Maybe he was the silent Bond villain. I'm starting to think he was. I can see him now. I know exactly who he was.
Well, I recognized him, so I have
beginning.
seen stuff with him in it. Like I saw, like
The Man with the Golden Gun is one of my favorite Bond movies. Said no one else.
Oh, I don't mind it, but I'm not the Bond fan you are either, so.
That's true. David Barron was Charles Edward Spaulding. This is a minor part, but it's a major role in the sense that he is the brother of Harry who passes away and leaves the house to his brother, which starts this whole thing off. So
he's also the first on-screen victim that we see as well.
Yeah. And he was in a Doctor Who serial, The Abominable Snowmen, which I think was a second Doctor serial. I don't know those ones too well, but I'm pretty sure it was. Charles Lloyd Pack was the vicar, and here's our only connections. The first connections, episode 111.
Bedazzled?
No.
The one I missed, Curse of the Demon.
Yeah, I even told him at the beginning.
I didn't write it down.
And I deliberately said it first so he'd screw it up, and it worked like a charm.
Yes.
And episode 122,
which was Bedazzled, yeah.
Harold Goldblatt, there's a UK name if I've ever heard one, was the solicitor, and he was in Children of the Damned in 1964. George Woodbridge is Old Garnsey, and he was in a couple of really early Hammer classics, Dracula from 1958 and The Mummy from 1959. And I would say we've covered The Mummy, but we haven't. We did a Mummy episode, and the Hammer movies did not apply.
Yeah, and a lot of these characters, I'm not even sure who they were, to be honest with you. Like, the only ones that I sort of remember were, like, George and Dr. Franklin and so on, and then Bailey, because he's integral to the plot.
Yeah, the only reason I even mentioned the vicar is, like, he had connections, and I remember him because he's the funeral.
Yeah.
At the funeral.
Oh, exactly.
Two funerals.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd cast him because, he does funerals, so.
Yeah. Oh, I don't even think I cast him.
Oh, I had a ton of fun, and I had some time on my hands, so I went a little bit deeper than normal.
Oh, so you did the text chain before the show. It sounds like everybody had good time on this casting, so looking forward to getting there.
Yeah, I stunt casted the fuck out of this one.
I put some real thought into it because I was really thinking about the movie I wanted to make. This one, as I said, it starts off with the brother getting murdered by the titular snake lady. We see her briefly in the darkness, just kind of shapes and form, but not really aware of what's going on. And I really love that effect when he gets bitten and he turns around immediately.
Yes.
Good cutting, and his face is already turning in this necrotic way.
Yeah.
It's gone purple. It's really cool.
It is really cool. Yeah. And that's the first thing I would change is Dr. Franklin warns him to get out of the way. Mm-hmm. So you kind of tell you right off the bat that he's not the villain, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's your first clue that he's a prisoner of some sort.
Yeah, he knows this thing is here, and this guy wasn't. Did anybody notice? I kept going, would anybody freaking lock their door? The only time they locked their door was when people were around, and then they left it open, and everybody's just walking into everybody's homes.
Yeah, well, locking the doors is a fairly modern thing.
They had locks. I saw her lock it. They just never did it.
And, I mean, they walk into the house, first thing they see is the thing has been tossed like a robbery.
When they take
door.
possession of the home. Yeah.
What are you
And why?
Leave your door unlocked?
Good question. Why was the place tossed? Like, did the brother have some evidence of Anna being the snake lady? Spoiler.
Yeah,
I think he should.
But I mean, his reason for going there was completely innocent. There was something wrong at his house, and he went to Dr. Franklin's to get help. It had nothing to do with the reptile at all.
Yeah, maybe he got burgled. They just don't make much sense of it, and it was just left that way after he died. But you don't know why. It's never tossed again. So obviously, if somebody was after something, different movie, because we don't care about it in this one.
No, yeah, and it made no sense at all.
It should be something. I mean, it's tossed that one time, and then Anna shows up with all the flowers. I mean, it would be interesting if there was something there, and Anna might have been looking for it, because, I mean, her father comes there right away to look for her.
Yeah, and I mean, we can hold on to that one a little bit. I don't want to get into the remake just yet, but yeah, I have an idea. Because like I said, I want to do a major setting change on this one. It'll all make sense to you.
Okay.
Unless, we'll toss around some ideas, because I don't know what ideas you guys have. Yeah, so Harry moves in. The town barman, Tom, who seems to... It's an interesting town, because the first time Harry walks into the bar and says, "Hey, I moved in," like, everybody leaves the bar. They don't like strangers. They're so xenophobic they'll all bail out of the bar that they're in just to avoid the stranger, which is a little weird. And it happens more than once in this movie.
Yeah.
It's like, if you keep visiting, I'm going to go out of business.
Yeah.
It's that unwelcome feeling you get in American Werewolf in London. That's sort of what I kept thinking, is these small pubs where people are like, outsider.
Generally, the people who are the loyals and the locals are going to stay, and they're going to make you leave.
Yeah.
Not the other way around. So I felt like they were avoiding conflict.
Well, we're trying to avoid questions, but they could have done that better. I mean, the cold shoulder works just as well.
Yeah.
And we've seen it work really well in other films.
Every scene in this movie has me scratching my head half the time, because there's little plot points that just go nowhere.
You know what it was? Like, okay, we have you for 1 hour. We're only paying you for 1 hour, so come in, shoot the scene, and get the fuck out.
Yeah. Yep. I felt like Tom was, again, one of these people. He's warning them to, like, go away and leave. Everybody's trying to make them leave. So it makes you think he does know more. Is he warning him away because he does know more? And what's his vested interest? We do find out later. He's just being kind. It's like, I don't want to see you guys die.
Because we know there's something happening in this town. I just don't know what.
Yeah. And I love his line. It's like, well, my brother lived there. Yeah, and he also died there. That's great.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. Good point. But he didn't die there. He died at the Franklins, and then he got dumped.
Yeah.
His body gets dumped.
Yeah, but I think that's all part of the cover-up. He did die there,
sure.
according to them.
Yeah. It was a good cover-up, I guess.
Well,
they're not going to look into it too hard. It doesn't seem like there's any constabulary establishment in this town. No real law. Just a small village, and they get by.
And they get, exactly. And they've never needed it, because all the deaths appear to be natural.
Yeah.
And I do like that aspect of it, is where everything does appear to be natural. They can explain it away.
Yeah, that's something I thought was a really slick plot point, set in their period piece, going, hey, these mysterious deaths are being covered by the Black Plague, and who's going to argue, because their resident doctor is going to say the same thing, even though he's not a medical doctor. He makes a good point of saying
yes.
Doctor of theology.
Yeah, which does make me wonder what the hell he's doing down there. I guess maybe he was exploring the history of these people.
And that could be into why he was cursed by them.
Yeah. But after that, it kind of devolves into Snake Lady. Well, first we see the Dr. Franklin. He's very strict with his daughter. We think it's just this weird control. Maybe I kept thinking, is this a mad scientist movie? And he's experimented on his daughter and made her this way. The Malay, I didn't even know what his name was for most of the movie. It was, I think it was only because of the IMDb that I know that.
Yeah.
But I just thought he was the silent grunt butler for most of the movie. I didn't think he was an instigator or villain.
But I did, oddly enough, because of that opening scene I was just talking about, where Franklin tries to warn him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then immediately after, you see the Malay looking through the window in that creepy, leering manner of his. I'm like, that's the bad guy.
Yeah. Like, I kept thinking more the case was, keep these guys away from investigating their brother's death. Yeah. Like, just see what they're up to, and just keep them away from me. Keep them away from Dr. Franklin. That was kind of where my mentality was with the character.
Well, I guess there was some of that too, there was, because he doesn't want his secret out any more than the doctor wants the secret out.
Sure. His very presence with her in the house is going to reveal that secret.
Oh, yeah. They're the closest neighbors.
Well, just the Malay in this home, like, who is this dude posing as a butler that's not very good at it?
Yeah. They should have had more of a misdirect with the butler-esque quality.
Yeah, and it kind of devolves as she's moving into the winter and molts, and there was an interesting aspect where it did look like the Malay could control her transformations from human to snake. There was an interesting point where in this fit of rebellion, she plays this song on this sitar or lute?
It was a sitar or something.
Sitar.
Yeah, I thought it was a sitar. And it turns out to be the tune the Malay uses to transform her, and we see this cool effect with her eyes, and just it would have been simple contacts going a little more snake-like.
Yeah,
and that was kind of neat. She's starting to turn while they're having company with these new neighbors.
Yeah, and that was actually one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, actually.
Yeah, I don't think it went far enough. But I certainly liked how she was taunting her own father. Yeah. And then he freaks out and goes all heavy metal and destroys the sitar on the
or Animal
understandably,
House.
right? Yeah. Because she's about to reveal their big dark secret.
Yeah. From the Spaulding's point of view, it's like, oh right, these people are crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
There's some interesting stuff here. I kind of dug it. And then you get this weird climactic scene where she's molted in the basement and there's a little struggle and fire starts. But this is where I feel like about halfway through, the husband gets bit, Harry gets bit, and it winds up becoming the wife's movie.
Yeah.
And she's kind of moving on with the investigation. And initially she didn't want to be left in the house alone and things like that, because, the little weird things were happening and the neighbors kind of suck.
Yeah.
But once the husband's sick, she's kind of got to continue on, and she didn't have to. She should just stay home by her husband. But she finds out what he was looking into because Anna's asking for help, which I think was a setup. I honestly think that was the Malay who wrote the note.
I'm pretty sure of it,
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And we don't ever get to find out how George survived the bite when nobody else did.
Oh, actually, they make a point of showing that thick collar of his. I don't think she got a full bite in there. And was
cut deep on his neck to get.
Yeah, so I think he just didn't get enough of the venom in his system that he was able to fight off its effects.
That's a good rationale for it, because, there's no other reason for it.
Yeah, that was my assumption, was she just didn't quite get in there. And the bite was interrupted.
Yeah.
So little poison got in there, but not enough to kill him. It shows you how little, because he was very, very sick.
Yes, he was very, very sick. I would have liked it if he'd have started to turn into one of the reptiles.
Yeah, they made a point of saying this is very similar to like a king cobra. There were more venomous snakes than that to make allusions to, but when he breaks into Dr. Franklin's house and then kind of trips into his office, and there's this cobra sitting on his desk that's taxidermied. I'm like, that was pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the 1960s, the cobra was the scary snake, right? Like now, the mambas and all that stuff are.
Yeah. I don't think we're stuck with the snake breed. There's even lethal lizards out there.
Yeah.
And reptiles, but.
Pete's sake, the platypus can kill you.
There you
go. They have barbs on them.
That's right. They're poisonous too. Although we're not making the platypus lady yet.
Well, it could be fun.
Yeah, I said yet.
I'm already imagining like the costume and the makeup. Yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah. The platypus, the least threatening animal on the planet, but just like everything else in Australia and New Zealand, everything will kill you.
Yep.
Everything can kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just deadly all over.
Right. Now, I kind of wanted to change the setting of this a little bit, because I really wanted to pull on the plague aspect and the paranoia, and I wanted to pull it back into the region where all of the origin stuff happens and pull our characters there. So if Anna's affected, and I assume this was all happening in South America based on the way the Malay looks.
Well, Malay is Malaysia, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
well, I didn't know that that's what they were going for. I thought that was some sort of title.
Yeah, no, that. Yeah,
oh
no,
no, I cast as that.
Yeah.
I have Malaysian actor.
Yeah,
right.
It is actually they had traveled to Malaysia. I would assume from that.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know what the Malay meant, so I just was like, is this some weird title? I don't know.
Dr. Franklin does talk about where he went to India, Delhi, Singapore.
Oh yeah, he did. Okay, I mean that works for me too, because I mean you got rainforest, all sorts of things going on over there. That would work just fine. There's lots of stuff to explore over there. I'm still leaning towards period, but
well, and I cast thinking that in order for it to work, it kind of does have to be. Because
I know, like I don't want to make it as old as it was. I mean, we've had plenty of plagues over the years, including the ones we've got right now. So I didn't think era-wise was all that important, but
well, I'm thinking
1970s just to up the technology a little bit.
A little bit. You want to put in an era where investigative techniques are still pretty weak as well.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like the end of British reign in India and Malaysia there would be a good time to put it, because then you could have your British actors make sense being there too, right?
Yeah. I've actually got a mixed cast because I kind of wanted to do a Doctors Without Borders scenario. We've still got Dr. Franklin doing his cultural investigation, but I wanted to do something like a Doctor Without Borders scenario with the brother, that his death, something's happened that's called Harry out there, and the wife follows him out there to reclaim the body.
Yeah, instead of the inheritance, it's just the familial responsibility kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, inheritance doesn't matter because now your action's taking place right in Malaysia. That's where I want the bulk of the film to take place.
You somewhat have a bit of intrigue, which I've seen in other films, of like a cover-up where possibly they get there like, oh no, the body's buried, it's gone.
Sure.
Like,
I mean, you've
done things to cover it up.
I mean, you'll have a whole culture that's covering it up that might be aware, and they're afraid of these legends and myths in their own culture.
I love the idea of it being more of a conspiracy where they know what's happened.
Oh, sure. Right? Yeah. Like, I want the whole town to be in on it. And it's not a case of telling the town a lie. I mean, maybe some of them don't know. If you have Doctors Without Borders and there's a plague happening, like, I like that aspect and I don't want to really get rid of it. But
the village knows more.
Yeah. I want the village to have these legends because, you know, that history. And, well, they'll talk about these snake men.
Yeah. Yeah, the secret snake men that they are one of their myths. Yeah. It's not really a myth.
Yeah.
Well, this is where the cult is. Like, you can have some of the village be like part of this cult.
Yeah, well, and that's why we could still have the Malay. Like, that's why I kept thinking of it as a title, this high priest of this cult.
But now, like, we could even make him a servant of the cult, as he was, right? And you could have him getting orders from a priest, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I like all of that. And I know you can add a little bit of Indiana Jones intrigue and adventure in all this as well. And you can still have all the mysterious horror that you would have in a Hammer film, like in the deaths. You want to have all that. Yeah. So, like, an Indiana Jones horror movie.
Yeah.
And this does answer kind of one question I was positing in my head, where she can't stand the cold, but she's gone out and bit people. But when they break the window, the cold comes in, then she dies at the end. If she's in a hot climate already and just stays in a hot climate, you can have the kills outside and in the jungle where they probably should be.
I want to have the things that happen to Anna because she's followed her father out there on his work. And I want that stuff to be fairly fresh, not an old thing that's happened and they're just existing with it. It's fairly new, and even Franklin's only vaguely aware what's going on and realizes this thing's a daughter that kills Harry's brother.
Yeah.
Which pulls them out there.
Yeah, no, and I'd love to see, like, the way they kind of did it in the original, where you just see suggestions of the creature through most of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, we could have Harry's brother going out into the rainforest to try and find Dr. Franklin about something, and that's when he gets bit. He's like, it's just purely innocent. They're colleagues.
Yeah, and I think because this movie has this old Universal Monsters film quality to it, I think there's an aspect that's missing, and that's the tragic monster.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked Anna, and there was a tragic ending, but it was...
But she wasn't a tragic monster. They didn't convey it very well. She was a tragic monster, but you didn't get the sense.
And I want to get there more. And I mean, now we have the opportunity. It's not just her, right? Like, she might be the titular title role of the Reptile, But now we're in a culture where we can do more with that. We can have more.
Well, there's more than them.
Yeah, exactly. More snake men. And we can actually have her die a heroic death as she kind of tries to overcome some of these carnal instincts.
Yeah, you know what? And maybe she
threaten her family.
Maybe she
and
set
friends.
the fire on purpose.
Yeah, maybe she's the one.
Yeah, I kind of like that ending where she makes that sacrifice because it's the only thing she can do.
Yeah, like there's no cure for her. She's doomed to this existence and she doesn't want. Otherwise, she's going to kill everybody she loves. In the movie, she winds up biting her own father.
Yeah. Well, what if they've turned her to make her a breeder? They need her to lay eggs. Because she's not part of the culture, so there has to be a reason for them to have taken her.
Yeah,
right?
Maybe they are lacking in females to move forward. It's gross to think about as a breeder.
It is.
It is gross, but at the same time, that you could see that actually being a motivation for a cult.
Yeah,
right. Is they've become so interbred with their current society that they're looking for a new bloodline.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if we had like a cavern and how sometimes snakes will all group together and undulate. I just think of like that orgy scene in Society.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, well,
it's so gross, but now it's all like mutating people, snake people.
It would make it for a great visual.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I had it in my head, strangely enough, while I was watching this with the melee. Once I found out he was the bad guy and doing bad things, and Anna didn't want to be a part of it, I was sort of coming along the lines that like they had claimed her as like his bride, and she's his, and she doesn't want to be. And it was a whole thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going with the idea of her being a new blood and a breeder. You can sugarcoat it by calling her a new queen.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. You don't really have a queen hierarchy in snakes, but
in religions and cults,
religions and cults, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, you have a king cobra, so maybe she's the queen cobra.
Yeah, I'd have to look at Malaysian snakes. Coral snakes are pretty vicious and venomous.
Well, the cobra is definitely part of that culture.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why they referenced it, because the cobras are the ones most common to India.
Yeah, and I kept thinking of like, again, sorry to reference Indiana Jones, but you get the flutes that control the snakes, right? I felt like that's kind of how the Malay was controlling her.
Yeah.
Or at least her transformations and how she was triggering them.
Yeah, no, and I love the idea of them being triggered.
Yeah.
Right?
She was turned as a punishment for Dr. Franklin and what he was doing. Maybe the intent was not to punish, but to assassinate with his own daughter.
Yeah, because
vehicle.
Yeah, because they want her for their own ends.
Oh, I want her for their own ends, but if he has these secrets that they've kept secret for hundreds or thousands of years and threatening to write a paper on him, like it's all innocent research from the doctor's perspective, but they don't want this getting out. And by changing the daughter into this snake thing, it's a way to assassinate him.
Well, and it would be so hard for him because he knows it's his daughter. I mean, poor guy, like, you kill your child, it's so hard.
Well, I like the idea of him not knowing until after Spalding.
After Harry, after the Spalding couple gets there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right.
He just knows that the brother died and something's wrong. And maybe through Harry's investigation, he figures this out and not willing to spill the beans. It's like, okay, well, I don't want something happening to my daughter, but if she's responsible, I got to handle this.
Yeah.
And figure out what's happening and why it's happening. And maybe he's making that realization that she's been transformed by this cult because he knows the signs. He's done the research. And she's been placed in the household to kill him. Yeah. I mean, the Malay's nowhere around the household unless he's posing as a local guide and assistant.
I was just thinking about a solution for him. He's in there as a spy, right?
Yeah, I mean, he'd have a camp full of people helping him with the local terrain and doing the research.
Exactly, right? And I mean, they're not going to be necessarily living out of a tent.
Yeah, I mean, he'd actually have a team of like paleontologists and things like that, which is maybe what we could turn Tom into.
Yeah, Tom, and I mean,
some of these other characters.
Yeah, considering I cast all British, I mean, it would be nice to have.
Yeah, I actually went a little more multicultural because
you had an idea already.
Yeah, so. I did. The Franklins I made British. The Spaldings I made American. I was thinking international distribution.
Nice.
And then I kind of went from there. It's like, well, if you're picking a team, they can come from anywhere, right? Yeah. So initially I wanted to keep it all British. And then an idea started forming. And I'm like, oh, I don't have to. I don't have to be that way.
No. I mean, certainly, changing the settings, you do get rid of that gothic feel. And you go to...
But that's okay. Yeah. I don't mind, like, that film exists already. Yeah. And now you're going to have this, like, hot and humid and glistening movie.
It'll be sexy as fuck.
Yeah.
It's Indiana Jones-ish, honestly, yeah, I mean, which I like.
Think those hot sepia tones in the film, in your cinematography, lots of reds. And
the greens.
Oh, yeah, reds jungle. And greens with the jungles. I mean, you're going to have lots of things pop, but you kind of want to have that really kind of hot and humid look to everything.
Yeah, I think that'll work really kind of neat.
Yeah.
Right? Especially once you start bringing the reptile into it and the reveal of, like, I'm really leaning into that scene that you just envisioned of the sort of roiling reptile pit.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, with modern makeup and special effects, you can really have fun with the snake creatures. I mean, maybe she's not a fully formed one yet because she's still new and young, and that's part of what the shedding of the skin's all about. Her transformation hasn't been permanent yet, but there are some very old ones too, and we can play with that look between male and female as well.
Oh, yeah. And you can have, like, the discovery of a shed skin at some point where they're completely confused, going like, there's no snake this big here. Why is this happening? What's going on?
Yeah, yeah, because it's so wide, too. It's like, well, you know, you can have really long boa constrictors and pythons, but this thing is the width of a human being. Yeah. Even the biggest pythons aren't that big.
No, that's the thing.
Like, they might be way longer, but they're not that big around.
But, and now you could have a herpetologist who's like, we've found what could be the biggest snake in the world.
Yeah. I mean, if this is just a portion of how big this thing is. Yeah, it could be really interesting. It could have different versions where she has that more humanoid look because she's fresh and new, and so she'll have legs and arms and stuff, but maybe we can have different versions where you have ones that have already lost their legs and now have just the snake tail to get around, and they're a lot faster.
Yeah. Well, this is almost starting to feel like the Naga or Naga myths.
Yeah.
Right, which are Malaysian.
And you can certainly make that tie because those myths actually exist. It's something this movie doesn't do, but we can certainly do it.
Yeah, particularly moving our location and changing our cast to doctors and scientists and so on.
Hey, just one question. The Naga myths, that's not something I'm familiar with.
They're this, I mean, I don't know a lot about them, but they are sort of this half human, half snake hybrid monster.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Kind of like snake centaurs.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Kind of. Like I said, I'm simplifying it. There's a lot more to it.
Like Medusa and every single.
I was actually about to say like the Gorgon myth. That's cool too to tie that into the Naga myth. I think that's going to be great.
Nice.
What are the characters I think are important here? I guess we don't really need the vicar, but we could still do a funeral out there if that could be cool. That could be cool. The locals are trying to cleanse the demon from the body.
Yeah.
So that way we can insert our vicar character. It'd be a very different character.
Oh,
obviously. Yeah. It won't be a proper vicar. It'll be whatever the local religion is to deal with this.
I was thinking the other way. British and Catholics in particular were notorious for trying to convert people.
Oh, that could be why he's there. Yeah. That's also cool.
And I would love some conflict.
I would love that conflict between this guy who's trying to convert these locals who want to take the demon out of the body.
Yeah.
Where they have been converted and they think that's the only way to save them from this snake cult.
Yeah. You know, you've died from the bite and you're cursed to be turned into a demon unless we perform this ritual on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a small little thing, but I like it.
Yeah. That makes a lot more sense too.
Cool. Okay, we already know Tom's going to be there. How about Mad Peter? Maybe he's a local. I mean, I guess we'll have to change his name.
I want him to be you know how they have those expats that like move somewhere and just stay there forever?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking too, and he's gone a bit mad because...
And he's drunk all the time. Like he's the local drunkard. They're usually the local drunkard.
Yeah. I totally screwed up half my cast because I got the setting wrong in my head. But that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about it is, and I checked, and the British left India in 1947.
Right. Okay. So right after World War II.
Yeah.
That's a good time. I like that.
Yeah.
Because, technology is not too far along.
Yeah.
But it modernizes it enough to make it different.
Yeah.
Yeah, late 40s, early 50s is perfect.
Yeah, I dig that. What other characters do we need to talk about? Actually, I think we got all the big ones. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah, I think I got them all as well. Yeah.
I don't have a vicar, but I have one that's popped into my head. So
okay, well, you can add that to the list. Well, we're almost there right now. I think we've got a fairly formed rough idea anyway of what we want to do here. And I feel like we're pulling on the
strings of the original,
the cover-ups, the paranoia that were themes in the original. We're still utilizing those bites, hiding it as plague, but giving a more local mythological aspect to it all. And now you're getting a chance to up some action because now your investigation is going to get you in trouble and it gives you a chance to do some action sequences.
There's certainly a lot more jeopardy, yeah.
Yeah, more jeopardy. I really envision the end sequence as if we're going to have Anna sacrifice herself.
Oh, she takes out the whole cult.
Yeah, it takes out the whole cult because the Malay has realized their legend is spread into this village. They got to kill them all.
Well, I don't know. I think they already know, but I think that they've realized that they're not afraid of them anymore.
I think it's Anna who's, I'm not yours, and you won't be, like, you guys are all evil. I've got to stop this. You can't just keep eating people.
Well, I mean, she's part of what is her conflict as well. I think her conflict comes from not wanting to hurt any more people that she's close to. I mean, she's already accidentally killed Spaulding's brother, Harry's brother, and she likes this family that's come out there and feels bad for what she's done. I don't know if she's fully realizes what she's done, but she knows she was involved with it, and she has the emotional trauma of it. You know, she knows she's going to hurt somebody she's close to sooner rather than later.
Yeah. I'm making Henry's brother. They were engaged.
Oh,
in my mind, I was going there.
Oh yeah, I like that little element. Yeah, that's where the real conflict's going to happen. She's been stopped a couple of times from killing her father, and much to the Malay's disappointment. Yeah.
And I want to deepen her friendship with Valerie because I want her to think, we could have been sisters-in-law, and she's new there. She's a new friend.
Yeah, maybe they're not going to kill the village, but there's a lot more people in this archaeological camp that's discovering what's going on here, and that's where we can have a lot more snake creatures coming out to attack all these guys. And these attacks are becoming more and more frequent, and the Malays pretty much no longer we're going to do these one by one. We're going to take everybody out. Yeah, and that's where you have a bunch of
anybody who's against us. So all these converted villagers under the vicar, they're going to do a mass attack on them to get rid of that threat.
Yeah.
But the villagers who are still afraid of them, they're still loyal to the cult, so they're not going to take them out.
I don't know about loyal to the cult per se. I think maybe because they've allowed these outsiders in, they feel like whether they are converted or not, they've been compromised and could tell the outside world. Now we have a purpose for him attacking the entire village. Because they're compromised.
They're compromised. I don't know. It seems...
I don't know.
Unnecessary, but I see where you're going at the same time. Because it's a big...
Yeah, I want a climactic thing that's going to be big. And you've got to make her sacrifice big.
And that's where I think you get your scene with the writhing pit of Naga, as it were, right? And that's where she comes upon them and takes them all out, right?
Yeah, well, and she's drawn to whatever's going on there, right?
Yeah.
And it is an opportunity. But, I mean, I don't know if that happens there, but I think she knows that's where the nest is.
And it's the only way it can happen.
Yeah, I think that's a more of not quite a climactic scene, but a middle
finale.
Well, it's a start to the finale. Because I want them coming out and ready to attack, and some people dying. I mean, I think that has to happen.
I think that definitely has to happen.
But I mean, she needs to keep them from leaving their lair /
well, and that's where
shrine.
Wonder if she can lull them with her sitar skills.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
because she was a heck of a musician, and maybe we make her, having a nice voice as well.
She has to have them all in one place in order for her sacrifice to work. That's the point I was trying to make.
Oh, you know what? Okay. Yeah, well, no, and I agreed with that. Yeah. I think Trish might have stumbled onto something here where they are starting to leave, and maybe she does this song to pull them back, or at least calm them, that snake charming thing, just long enough for them to destroy this place. She has to stay there to keep them there.
Yeah, she can't stop for a second playing.
Yeah, and this could be an opportunity for Harry and Valerie to be heroic, or even Dr. Franklin. But I think in the end, just maybe she does still kill him.
I think that he finally gets killed in the attack.
Yeah.
Right. I think that they do invade the outpost where the scientists and stuff are staying, and they do get them in like the first phase of the attack before she calls them back, just to make it so that you do have some tragedy there before the final.
Yeah, no, I think it's still a horror movie after all. So yeah, I think so too. I want that tragedy of that, and the tragedy of her death, because now she's going out heroically, and I did like her, as a person, and I didn't like that she's being mistreated by the father, but we've kind of changed him a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's going to come off in the same way.
No, he's a victim as much as she is in this case. He's not going to.
I mean, he's keeping secrets, and maybe that's coming off brash. And
he was a MacGuffin in the original film. You were supposed to think that he was the bad guy.
Yeah.
Right? Even though
we're not trying to hide that this time.
No, the bad guy is the cult. Right?
Yeah, the cult as a whole.
Well, and I sort of saw him too, as you kind of described him as somebody doing research on this, is he's looking at this like the Snake Men is just a legend. Like he's studying theology. He's like, oh, this is just a legend they have. They aren't real. And that's how he kind of approaches it. So he doesn't realize his daughter has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where we have that moment in the rainforest where Franklin and the younger brother or older brother are meeting. And we have this tragedy where she kills him because she's not in control of herself yet.
Yeah. And I have a death of the Malay in mind because he's still out. We never see him change into anything, and we assume he's some sort of human familiar. What if he's not?
No.
So what if all of this snake cult is destroyed and he's still left out there, and he starts to change, and this is an opportunity for, and I still want maybe Harry to get bitten, and he's still sick, so now Valerie's the one who's going to be heroic, and he's the only one left. Just something simple. He starts to change, and Valerie's like, no fucking way. Poof. Yeah. Just shoots him right in the head.
You could have him, Harry could be like the herpetologist, and as an affectation, he calls her his little mongoose.
Sure. Just for you, Trish.
Just for me, because it would be fun, because she's a mongoose who kills a snake.
That's not bad, actually. We could have that little nickname. Sure, why not?
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking, because we're setting it post-World War II, there's going to be easier access to explosives. So I think that you have the opportunity for them to, like, while they're out doing their attack.
There will be still a British military presence that they can utilize, certain things kicking around still.
So they can, like, blow up the nest, as it were.
Yeah. Cool.
I like it.
We came up with an ending.
This has some good shapes on it that the other one needed, because there's so many questions.
Yeah, I felt like it was half an idea that we got to see, and there's a lot of talking and wasting time, and the most interesting bits are in the conversation, and we don't get to see them, and now we do.
Yes.
Like I said, big fan of show, don't tell. I don't want to have those kind of interesting bits and then all in dialogue. Come on. I want to see a prologue, damn it.
Yeah.
And you can start trickling out that information along the way instead of one big soliloquy at the end.
Yeah. Well, we don't even need it the way we've created it.
No, we don't. Yeah. Not at all. I mean, there's little bits, the information will still come out as we go along, but we'll know a lot of it right at the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm digging it. Okay. Well, all we need to do is cast this thing. I think this is pretty good. I hope Woj does too. This is what happens with the fan challenge. We get really into it. And everybody was kind of bragging about the cast list. So
I said I stunt casted. I don't know if it's good or not.
Oh, stunt casting. Come on. That's going to be fun. I mean, I suppose I did a little bit. But yeah, Sam, why don't you start us off?
Okay, I'll start us off. So for my Dr. Franklin, I went with David Thewlis. So not very stunty, but I think he'd be really good in that role.
Yes.
Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah, I dig it too.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous, actually.
For my Harry Spalding, I went with Richard Madden from Game of Thrones, The Eternals,
okay,
and other things as well.
Yep.
My Valerie Spalding is Jodie Comer.
Nice.
Comer. Another
Killing Eve.
Yeah, very lovely British actress. For my Anna Franklin, I went with Mia Goth because, well, she's like my new horror queen.
Yeah.
Nice.
And yeah, I think she'd have fun doing it too.
Sure. You want somebody that has a little bit of a younger look, and you can be slightly ambiguous about her age if the...
Exactly, because I was kind of actually thinking along the same lines as Trish, is that it doesn't matter how old the father is because she can be whatever age with the shedding, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I kept thinking the whole time, I'm like, okay, where do I turn into a snake? Maybe that will help me look younger.
For my Tom Bailey, I went with Michael Sheen.
Nice.
For my Mad Peter, just because he does Mad so well, I went with Tim Roth.
Okay.
For my Vicar, I went with Richard E. Grant, who is perfect in his new role.
In everything.
In everything. And then I cast a solicitor. He can be another one of the scientists, but I cast Martin Freeman.
Awesome. Yeah, there's some good stunt casting there.
Yeah. And here, wait, I'm not done yet, because my director and the Malay are the same guy.
Oh.
James Wan.
Interesting.
Hey, that's my director.
Yeah, so I cast him in the role of the Malay as well, because he is Malaysian.
That's not my director.
Oh, I didn't do that, but I made him my director.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I totally screwed up because I kept thinking South America for some reason, so bear with me, guys. Okay.
That's all right.
We'll do Trish last for a change. For my Dr. Franklin, I went with Ray Fiennes.
Okay.
From the menu.
Nice.
Yeah. For his daughter, Anna, I went with Naomi Scott. You might remember her from Aladdin, the live action one, and Charlie's Angels, the new one. For Valerie Spalding, here's my stunt casting, Elizabeth Olsen.
Okay.
And for her husband, Harry, I went with Ross Marquand from The Walking Dead. He played Aaron.
Okay.
Does a lot of voice work, too. And for Tom Bailey, our bartender, we've kind of switched him up. He's going to be, maybe he's like the camp leader. We never really defined him, but maybe he's the foreman of this expedition.
Yeah.
And I made that Andrew Divoff.
Okay.
Which would
lovely.
Which could be a little a misdirection because he always plays bad guys.
Because he's so damn good at it.
Because he's so damn good at it. But Trish and I have had the pleasure of meeting the man, and he is a sweet, kind man. So I'm going to make him a sweet, kind man.
There you go.
And it just made me think too. I mean, honestly, he could be the translator.
Yeah, well, and I
know lots of languages.
And I was thinking locals if I was going to set it in South America, so I went with Spanish-speaking people, so which really screws up the whole Malaysian thing. But imagine if you will. For Mad Peter, I want him to be local, and I made it Benicio del Toro. And for the Malay, I went with Benjamin Bratt.
Okay,
nice.
I think he had a similar look.
Yeah.
And against type for him, which would be fun.
It would be fun. I more I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, he'd be a creepy dude. He could do creepy.
Yeah.
And for Charles Spalding, the brother, I cast him mainly because he was important, even though it's a minor role. I went with Nick Gelfus, and he's in All Things Chicago, and I thought we needed to get him out of Chicago because he's in Chicago Fire, Med, and PD.
Well, they're all linked together, so of course.
Yeah. Yeah, so I figured
it's Chicago Emergency Services.
Let's get him out of Chicago for a little bit.
Yeah,
and kill him.
Yeah,
and like this is why he stays in Chicago because anytime he travels, he's gonna die.
Oh, I forgot my Charles. I actually forgot to mention my Charles.
Did you have a Charles?
I did. Yeah, I cast David Tennant as Charles. I wanted him to be the older brother, right?
Oh yeah.
So more stunt casting.
And for my director, I went with Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, he could do that.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, the very dusted on it.
Yeah, and he likes to do these kind of horror grindhousey things, even though he's got a wide range of stuff. But I think he'd have a lot of fun with this.
Oh, for sure he would.
Kids movies are amazing. Yeah. I watch them all the time because I love them.
Oh, I love Spy Kids all the way up to.
What was it? We Can Be Heroes or something like that? The kids have parents who are heroes.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one yet.
It's new on Netflix. It's great.
But Battle Angel, damn.
So good.
Yeah.
I've rewatched that thing about a half dozen times now. It is so freaking good. So that's my cast. Trish, you were saying you're having a lot of fun with your casting, so let's find out what you did.
I was. For my Dr. Franklin, I went with Steve Pemberton, who's one of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and as Mad Peter, Reese Shearsmith. They're both the guys who write and are in Inside Number 9, because I was having that feel when I was watching this movie.
Okay.
That it was very much their area. And for Spaulding, the husband, and weirdly, Captain Spaulding, they call him Captain at the beginning. Is this where Rob Zombie got the name?
I think it's just coincidence.
I went with Luke Evans, so another Welshman.
Oh, yeah.
And for Valerie Spaulding, I went with Steph Song. She's a Malaysian-Canadian actress. She was on that Canadian series J-Pod. You may have seen her. She's done a lot of different one-offs.
Okay.
But I'd like to see her in a thing. For Anna, I went with Anya Taylor-Joy.
I almost did, but she didn't fit in my casting as far as I was going to use her, and I'm like, well, she's American. She doesn't fit the role I want her in. I don't like casting Americans as British people.
She's British.
Well,
no, she's not.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
Look at her IMDb. She's not. She's from California.
Oh,
I know. She does a very good job with it. She's got an accent. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe
she grew up in London or something like that, because, she's very...
Okay, yeah. She was born in the States, though.
She's very good at it. And plus, she just has this look that to me is just otherworldly.
Oh, yeah.
Like Anna did.
Somebody needs to make her an elfin and whatever Lord of the Rings thing they do next.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for Tom Bailey, I would be like Jam Bailey. I was looking for like a gruff, I still had it in Yorkshire, so like a gruff pub landlady. And it was either Mira Sayal or Indira Varma. And Indira Varma, you've seen her in lots of things. I think she was in The Mandalorian. Yeah, very statuesque, very gorgeous lady.
Okay.
And then I renamed the Malay because it was just like the Malay. I'm like, no. And I looked up Malay, and I don't even know if this is right because this is from the internet, so don't kill me. But I came across this one, Musawir, Mussawwir, and it means designer, creator of forms.
Oh.
And I thought that would just add another level. And for that, I did Ronnie Chieng.
Look at you doing research. You never do research. What's going on?
I never do. I don't know. Yeah, I was having an up day.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
And Ronnie Chieng, he's like a Malaysian, he's American, I think Australian, and he's a comedian. Because I was also going a little bit of gothic weirdness. Mm-hmm. Just adding a little bit of humor in those very big moments. But now we're going to be more serious, but I still think he could do it. And as we did cover, my director was James Wan. And for the Vicar, Hugh Laurie.
Yep. Sure. Nice cameo by Hugh Laurie.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we have that conflict with the people between the local religion and the conversion, that could be fun because now we can have some little bit of comic relief or just some really interesting back and forth because, when he played House, he was both those things. He was funny and angry.
Yeah. That's why when we decided to do it that way, I'm like, oh, my casting's perfect because Richard E. Grant can do nuts really
and you can dip in, if with a British vicar, you can really dip into that colonial aspect.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't cast a vicar, but I'm down for either one of yours. I
didn't cast him initially, but you said the vicar and he got a bigger part, so I felt I had to.
I don't know half of Trish's cast, so I can't envision her cast, but that sounds appropriate.
Not all of them are well known, but watch Inside Number 9 and you'll get the feel I'm looking for.
Right. That's a horror show, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a series, and all these episodes take place in different places related to Number 9, and they're very interesting. They're all very different. No lowering in quality over the many seasons. It's still always very good.
All right. Well, good job, everybody. I think we all had good casts. I'd go see every one of these casts.
Hey, I'd go see our movie. It sounds great.
Our movie sounds great, regardless of the cast we have.
Yeah.
And hopefully, Woj, you're happy with that. And like what we did, this movie has a 6.1 rating on IMDb, which is not too bad. I don't know where you guys would put it. I mean, I didn't care for it that much. I really like our movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have given it a 3 out of 10. That's how much I disliked the movie.
I didn't dislike it that much.
Low.
I'd go 4.5 to 5 for me.
Okay.
I'd do 5.1 because it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah, I don't think.
But I still have a soft spot for Hammer. So.
But that says a lot too, because it's a half-form movie in my mind, and I mean, you guys are a little more forgiving than I was for it, but there's so little on the table, it wasn't keeping my interest at all.
Oh no, I admit, there were times where I'm like, okay, did I miss anything? No.
Yeah.
No. Rotten Tomatoes. What do you think the critics thought of this movie?
I have this feeling we're going to be surprised, but I'm going to go with around that 60%, right at 60.
Okay. 60 for Sam.
48.
48. Well, critics actually came in at 71%.
Damn it, I suck at this game.
They quite liked it. I'm not sure what they saw that I didn't, but they quite liked it. Maybe they just like Hammer.
Maybe.
Or Hammer's got a little bit of grease in the window. I don't know what's going on there, but the critics did like it, and maybe they came down to that pretty cool makeup.
Maybe,
stuff.
yeah.
The movie had some great makeup effects for its day. What do you think the audience score is on Rotten Tomatoes? And keep in mind, this is just shits and giggles, because if anybody listens to this show at this point, if you don't realize I don't give a shit about Rotten Tomatoes and they don't mean anything, this is why we do it.
Yeah. Because rarely do we actually agree with them.
Because it's a fun thing to like look at, and I kind of want to make Rotten Tomatoes irrelevant. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. So on that note, I'm going to go around that 60%. I'll go 58% from audiences.
Okay.
I'll go 66.
66. Well, audiences were leaning towards my end of the spectrum at 38%.
I should have reversed my 2.
Yes, you should have.
All right. Well, that was The Reptile from 1966. This was a good suggestion.
Yes.
And if you want to get our attention, this was definitely one of the ways to do it. We like a little weird. We like a little offbeat. Throw a snake woman in it. Yeah, that'll work. Give me a cookie hook, and your shot will go up immensely just because I think, well, that's weird. Yep. I can do weird.
Yeah. Yeah. If you sell it in your description, then guaranteed Jay's going to be putting it on his list.
Yeah, and we've done some pretty good movies because of it. Sometimes somebody will sneak one in there and they're like, oh, cool, this has got time travel in it. Right on.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't what I was expecting. That was really good. How do we remake this? You bastards.
Yeah.
Or in
you
this case,
gotta sell it with intrigue.
Or in this case, there was some neat ideas on the table that I don't think I got exploited enough, and it gave me a lot of meat on the bone because of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely did. And being able to bring it somewhere where there's an actual basis for the myth.
Yeah.
And clearly that's where this came from.
Oh, and imagine like the fun sets you can build here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to look really cool.
Fun on location stuff. Like, I mean, you don't have any sets for most of it. It's just like lush rainforest.
Oh, I want some sort of really cool temple.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Going back to your Indiana Jones, I mean, yeah, something like the like a thuggy temple or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and you said it was a hot, sexy movie. All the heat, all the moistness.
Sam said sexy.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have that Lair of the White Worm quality where everybody's sweating.
Yeah. That's what I said.
Sam just likes sweat. I don't know. I don't find that movie sexy, but okay.
Sweat,
I guess it does. Yeah.
Linen clings.
Yeah.
Hot, sexy movie.
Well, Assassins with Antonio Banderas and Sly Stallone, where it was just all sweat.
Hot, sexy movie.
It's not
sexy.
It's not a good movie.
No, it is not.
Oh, it's terrible.
That was shot in Vancouver.
It's a sweaty movie.
I know because I was there. I remember them shooting that one. I was in film school when they were shooting that one.
That's weird. Why is it sweat? It's not sweaty in Vancouver. It's chilly in Vancouver.
Not in the summer. It can get quite humid and sweaty. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like 50 degrees in my apartment.
And humid.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I lived in a basement, so that's probably why I was.
Yeah. That was right on the ocean. So hot, sexy movie. We all got to do it now.
Yeah.
We all got to do an offensive accent.
I didn't do an accent.
All right. Well, that's it for The Reptile. Thanks, Woj, for suggesting it. We actually wound up having a lot of fun on this one. So I didn't have fun watching it, sorry, but I certainly had fun remaking it. And we came up with a hell of a movie.
I think so.
Yeah. So I hope you like what we did. If you have a fan challenge you want to give us, or just make some comments, suggestions, corrections, comments, send them over anywhere on our social media or email invasionoftheRemake@gmail.com or @invasionremake on Twitter or Invasion of the Remake on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yeah, we did it.
We did it. There could be more coming as Twitter implodes, but
yeah.
Oh, I think we are on Mastodon. I don't know if we're doing anything with on.
Oh no, Mastodon. No.
We killed Mastodon.
Yeah.
Okay, Mastodon was a short-lived experiment.
Yes. Yeah, it was a backup plan. Twitter has not imploded, and things seem to be getting better. So
we'll see.
We'll see.
Keep listening. We'll let you know if we pop up somewhere else.
Yeah.
I've been investigating other alternatives, but so far they're all working for us, what we got. So stick with us on all those platforms. If you're not following us, please do. And tell your friends and family about the show. Get them to follow us on our social media and subscribing on their favorite podcast platform. What podcast platform can you find? Well, we got a list of them over on our website.
That'd be invasionoftheremake.wixsite.com/podcast.
And over there, you'll find lots of links to podcatchers, and I'm sure you'll find one that you'll like. And of course, there's also a button. Do you know what that button says, Trish?
Ooh, shop?
No.
Does it say buy?
Pie? No, but I want pie.
Later.
Buy, B-U-Y. Buy.
No, it says store.
Ah, store.
It says store. If you hit that button, it'll take you to our store. It'll take you to our TeePublic Store, and over there you'll find t-shirts, mugs, posters, PPE, masks, pillows,
wall posters.
Yeah, posters, magnets, stickers,
So
totes.
much.
There's all sorts of cool stuff you can get, and we have well over 70 designs to choose from at the moment. Maybe we'll do a reptile one. Maybe. I think that would go really well with our alligator people one. If you're waiting for waiting for a reptile shirt, go buy our alligator people one first.
Jay has one. It looks great on.
It does, and that was also a fan challenge.
Yes, it was.
So now we've had 2 lizard-themed people.
Well, reptile.
Yeah.
Alligators aren't, I guess, kind of lizards, and snakes definitely aren't lizards.
Yeah. So we've had reptile-themed episodes now from our fans. Yes. Something's going on there I don't know about.
Is there a secret wish happening here?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they saying we're cold-blooded? I don't know.
I mean, Unknown Island actually was a fan challenge too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Reptiles.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Ish.
That was the same person that gave us alligator people.
Ooh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Shout out to Cade. I'll have to see how he's doing. He's been making a short film.
Yeah.
We'll have to catch up with Cade at some point. I know he's got one he wants to do yet. One more he wants to do. So
yeah, the Cade trilogy. It'll happen.
It will. We'll finish the Cade trilogy, and some point I have another one in the wings from Woj here, and if it's as good as this one, we'll have to do that one down the road as well. But I mean, if you got a fan challenge, let me know. Email me on our social media or invasionoftheremake@gmail.com, and I'll look at it personally and I'll tell you if it fits the criteria. What are the criteria for a fan challenge? I usually have a 20-year cutoff, so nothing too new. I mean, you're pushing your luck if you pass the 2000s, but 20-year cutoff gets you to 2003 now. So you might be able to convince me to do one from there. And can't be too good. I mean, if it's a movie that's got a 9.5 rating, I can't do anything with that. We're not going to make it better. We could make it worse. If you want us to make it worse, we can do that.
We can do that. We have done.
Oh, yeah.
We have.
With our eyes closed.
The misguided attempt to remake One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
Just skip to the end of that episode. I have a genius remake.
Well, no, you have the only remake. I don't know about genius.
Yeah, we gave up for it. Oh, no, it's genius. It's not better than One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, no.
But it's hilarious.
Yes.
Out of the limited options, it was kind of the only possibility.
Yeah. I can't make it better, but I can make it worse. Yeah, so nothing too new. And, it's got to have room for improvement. So find something there. And if it's got a good hook, it'll definitely get our attention. So, yeah, that's kind of the criteria. And it's got to also interest me. Just because you have an idea and you want us to tackle it, might not be able to do it. Just because maybe there's a remake already out there that we're going to talk about it. So that's come up a few times. Or it didn't catch me.
Yep.
That'll happen too. So, let us know and we'll consider it. We'll definitely interact with you. Just because you don't do the episode, hang in there, keep listening, and maybe you'll have another idea. It's you can suggest all you want, and you'll get one through the door. And I mean, we all have our own things we want to do too. So we don't do these all the time, but we try to get a dozen or so in a year. So. Hopefully.
There's lots of half-baked movies out there.
Yeah,
lots.
That's right. And I'm sure you can suggest a good one to us that we haven't considered yet. Hopefully you enjoyed The Reptile. That was a request from Woj. Again, thank you, Woj. And we're back to comparison next week. Until then, I've been Jason.
I'm always Sam.
And I continue to be Trish.
And we are out of here.
Before I leave this house, I must tell you about Anna. She lies down there in the cabin. That vile thing underneath that blanket is my daughter, Anna. Oh, not the Anna you know. Not that lovely girl. Not that lovely girl. But a hideous parody of herself. A loathsome thing. Using her body, my daughter, my lovely Anna. But for you, I would have released her from her misery. You... No! I'm not leaving. She was my only happiness. My dearest possession. And they knew it. They knew that was the way to punish me. I have told you of the years I spent in the East investigating their primitive religions. There was one particular religious cult that kept evading me, Mrs. Spaulding. Like the leopard people of Africa, this was a secret society, and their secret jealously guarded. The Orang Sanctu, the snake people. Few people have heard of it outside Borneo, and there they never dare speak of it. It took a long time, a great deal of patience to discover their secret, but I managed it, and returned to Singapore to write up my investigations. A few weeks later, Anna disappeared. It is not unusual in Malaya, and I awaited the usual ransom note from Chinese bandits. None came. 3 weeks later, she was returned unhurt, and apparently with no idea what had happened to her. And then, it all began, Mrs. Spaulding. They had their revenge. Anna was one of them. As soon as I realized what had happened, I got her as far away from their influence as possible. I brought her here in the hope that it would help weaken their hold, and because the sulfur streams could keep her warm in the winter. You see, every winter, Anna sheds her skin like a reptile and goes into a deep sleep. The cold would kill her,